Can you guess the function of this building? Well, you can see approximately 70 small skylights on the roofs of this building, all covered with a black tarp. And that should guide to the function of the building, which requires the least light, and typically it's a museum. Musea normally require almost no visible light. I remember facade engineering of one museum in United States, where the beautiful whole glass facade made of low iron glass was recommended by light engineer to have a fully black ceramic coating, reducing its light transmission to zero. So here we have another interesting thing that we are going to discuss pretty soon. It's an inflatable artifact attached to the roof of the building. Obviously it's temporary, but it's interesting how it's ballasted. Obviously it's California, so there isn't much of an issue of high winds. And another thing is that big oculus skylight in the center. It's interesting for multiple reasons. Obviously maintenance, the structure, the waterproofing, all that plays a role here. We can see the challenges of maintenance. There's a couple of scissor lifts on the terrace below, but they obviously wouldn't help here. Therefore the glass is kind of dirty. We can see interesting thing here is a piece of apparently sprinkler pipe sticking out of the outer perimeter of the skylight, essentially exemplifying the challenges of connecting and coordinating multiple technologies, creating a waterproofing nightmare. And then there is that area on the left where we have what is essentially a roof being built with a wall technology. Obviously, it's a challenge. We've seen it on numerous buildings in and around in California, and that seldom ends well, even in the relatively mild climate of California. You can see here, for example, that's another example where multiple patches were applied in order to waterproof what was essentially a roof clad with wall technology. Here we have another look at the system of attaching the inflatable piece of art with water tanks that are filled with water and multiple ropes holding it down in order to stabilize that obviously wind-prone component. Here we can have a look at the walls. There is black and white cladding with a little bit of missing joinery here, and you can see the streaks of dirt running down from that circular area of the roof, which is also clad with the same stone cladding. This is obviously a very high maintenance item. In here we have a little bit of a clear story. Again, the same mirror situation on the right side. With the section of an open joinery right above that intersection here, which indicates that this is probably intentional drainage that simply doesn't work. It's there just as an overflow or something else, just an emergency release or a temporary release. Here we have a boundary line between two adjacent buildings. On the right side is the museum, on the left side is a different building, and we can see how wide is the space separating the two. This is the seismic region. Apparently they took a lot of precaution We can compare the similar condition on the other side of the street, and this gap is much narrower between the two adjacent buildings. It's probably around 8 or 10 inches. There are pros and cons. It takes less space, there is no need to restrict access, but on the other hand, there is no way to maintain this space in case anything goes wrong.